Hydrating Silk Proteins smooths every strand so hair's soft, silky.
By Car and Driver's 10 Best. An Automobile Magazine All-Star. And now, J.D. Power and Associates' most appealing minivan, the Chrysler Town & Country. It's nothing short of everything. What's new in your world?
Every small business comes with uncertainties. At The Hartford, we help you take them on with customized business plans and a range of financial products designed to help you take risks, not just protect you from them.
Tuesday on ABC, prepare to meet Bobby Donnell.
Want to know why I do it? That's why. An innocent person.
He likes lawyers.
You get them off just the same as I do.
Yeah, but I don't have as much fun.
Just as much as you do.
You just gave life to a person you know could be innocent.
The Practice, premiering Tuesday. Sunday, America's Sexiest Couple are back with an all-new episode. It's the final showdown.
Lois, get out!
An all-new Lois and Clark. ABC Sunday.
Grandparents cut off from their grandchildren and fighting back. Do they have a right to see the grandkids? Then, reshaping your body with an amazing new technique. It isn't pretty, but you will be. Melting down the fat. When 2020 continues, after this from our ABC stations.
Coming up tonight on News 13's 11 at 11, a signature in wet cement gets one Las Vegas 9-year-old in big trouble with the law. Good evening, I'm Kathy Ray.
I'm Ken Hamilton. Also tonight, it's a story that should alarm any consumer. A man walks into a store to compare prices and walks out in handcuffs.
And the streets of L.A. turn into a war zone. We'll go live to the scene of today's gun battle.
It's 11 minutes of non-stop news, weather, and sports.
Tonight, after 2020.
How rock stars eat superstars.
Well, if I had money to tell you what to do, I'd go downtown, buy a Ford truck or two. I'm crazy about a Ford truck. Lord, I'm crazy about a Ford truck. I'm gonna buy me a Ford truck and cruise it up and down the road. I'm gonna buy me a Ford truck and cruise it up and down the road.
See America's best-built, best-selling trucks at your Southern Nevada Ford dealer today.
Woo!
Where should I go to get new glasses?
2020 Eye Care. Because at 2020 Eye Care, you get twice the value every day.
Explain, please.
Sure. 2020 Eye Care's everyday pricing policy is 2 pairs of glasses for one low price.
No coupons to clip?
No coupons to clip, no sale to wait for. 2 pairs of glasses, one low price every day at 2020 Eye Care.
Wow, that is twice the value.
Only at 2020 Eye Care. There's no better deal, no greater value.
It's 11 minutes of nonstop news, weather, and sports tonight on 11 at 11.
From ABC News, 2020 continues. Once again, Hugh Downs.
Imagine a relationship with no strings attached, where you're loved as you are and with nothing being required of you but to give love back. That is the unique relationship that can exist between grandparent and grandchild. So what happens if that bond is broken? If angry parents tell grandparents, stay away from the kids, is that the end of the story? Well, not for the grandparents you're about to meet. As Lynn Scher discovered, there are some things grandparents are willing to fight for, and seeing their grandchildren is #1 on the list.
The sun won't rise for another few hours here in Statesville, North Carolina, but Louise McIntyre is rallying her troops. A bus full of doting grandparents.
Louise Carter? Yes, ma'am. Cash?
You think you love your children, but until you hold a grandchild, there's no resemblance to it.
Rex, on his here.
You have children to bring life into the world. And of course, when they have children, that's even that much more joy.
Grandchildren bring joy.
Old people have three concerns: their Medicare, their Social Security, and that line of pictures of grandkids that they pull out their pockets.
That's the way it's supposed to be. But for this army of grandparents, that loving tie has been wrenched away. They are not permitted to see their grandchildren.
Tell me what it's like not to see your grandchildren, Louise.
It's hell. It's a blank that can't be filled any other way.
Why do you miss them so much?
It's an extenuation of yourself.
Louise McIntyre and her busload of North Carolinians are not unique. Across the nation, tens of thousands of grandparents are barred from visiting or telephoning, or in some cases, ever contacting their children's children. That's why this group is going to the state capitol in Raleigh to lobby for a law protecting grandparents' rights.
We got about 5,000 petitions. This will be great.
For Louise, the project has become painfully personal. Her son Loring, who, with his wife Catherine, has forbidden her to see his two young daughters, is also headed for Raleigh to oppose his mother.
It's just tragic. We both ask, why? What have we done that caused this?
The answer isn't clear. 11 years ago, all three generations of McIntyres seemed happy together. Louise and Victor McIntyre became grandparents when Loring's wife Catherine gave birth to a daughter, Megan, then a second daughter, Rachel.
These little girls were my joy. It was like I'd been given this blessing. They had such a good time here. They had their playhouse. We had an Indian camp made over here in these pine trees.
You want to talk to Granddaddy? Talk to Granddaddy.
I feel it is the purest love bond.
Say hey.
Because there's no conditions attached to it.
Dr. Arthur Kornhaber is a psychiatrist who's been studying the relationship between grandparents and their grandchildren for 25 years.
Grandchildren do not see love, pure love, in anyone else's eyes like they do in their grandparents, no matter how wonderful and loving the parents are.
What's that, Rachel?
But just after Christmas 1991, when Megan was 7 and Rachel 4, McIntyre family tensions peaked, and the connection between the generations was severed.
See you later. That's Rachel. That's Rachel.
Now all Louise has left is her row of pictures.
Here's little Megan and Debbie Rachel.
And the room the little girls used for sleepovers has become almost a shrine, filled with dolls and Christmas presents Louise continues to buy year after year after year. The playhouse that Megan and Rachel decorated during their final Christmas visit 5 years ago hasn't been touched since. Their last tea party gathers dust.
I come out here lots and see it.
Does it make you happy or sad to be here?
How happy? Most of us can't begin to understand how the McIntyres got to this point. For those of us lucky enough to have known and loved our grandparents, it's unthinkable to be kept away. Why would any parent sacrifice such an important relationship, leaving the children caught in the middle? Loring McIntyre says it's all about control, and that the problem began when he chose Catherine as his bride.
When we announced that we were getting married, the first words out of my mother's mouth were, "Oh, no, you're not." I mean, that was the very first words, so that, I think, was foretelling of things to come.
Two girls are better than one.
The hostility was set aside when the girls came along, but reemerged as they grew up.
It was almost like Megan became her child. If we went there, she wanted to take over Megan, everything. And if she came to our house, same thing. And it got to be they would come, and next thing they say, well, we're leaving. We're taking Megan with us.
The breaking point came when Loring's brother Chris asked the girls to be in his upcoming wedding. Loring refused.
I said that we would attend the wedding, but I did not want us to be in the wedding because of all the old wounds from when Catherine and I got married.
Louise wrote a letter begging Loring to let the girls participate. Then she suggested that Catherine had an emotional problem and that the couple should seek counseling. Outraged, Loring wrote back that Louise's letter caused serious damage in our relationship with you. On the wedding day, Loring and his family didn't even stay for the photo session.
When did you see the children next?
Rachel's birthday. We drove to Asheville, 115 miles. We were allowed 42 minutes with them.
What do you mean you were allowed 42 minutes?
Because they said they had a party and we've got to go. And we drove back 230 miles for 42 minutes.
Frustrated, Louise and Victor hired a lawyer and threatened to sue for the right to see their grandchildren more often.
There was no need to threaten. There was no need to try to force. That set things up for failure right there.
Mediation didn't work. When Victor and Louise did sue, Loring and Catherine cut all connection between grandchildren and grandparents.
No communication, no presents, no cards, no phone calls.
Look here. Small, big.
The McIntyres tried one more time at an amusement park.
What was it like? No
Strange,
communication.
very strange.
No communication.
And when Megan came over to me, she hugged my neck, and I whispered in her ear, and I said, "Remember, we love you." She said, "I know it, Granddaddy."
She whispered it. That's the last time we seen him.
Victor and Louise took their case to the North Carolina Supreme Court, but the judge ruled that they didn't even have the right to be heard under current state law.
What do you want to do?
I want to be with
Megan is now 11, Rachel 8. These days, they refer to their grandparents, whom they haven't seen in 3 years, as Victor and Louise.
It's just been a gradual thing. They don't seem like grandparents anymore. I mean, grandparents would love us and they wouldn't sue someone. They said that our parents were stupid and crazy and Megan lied all the time.
Louise's loss spurred her to start a grandparents' rights group. It organizes grandparents, like the group headed to Raleigh, who've been cut off and are seeking help, and it advises about the patchwork of legislation that now exists. Some state laws grant visitation rights to grandparents displaced by their child's divorce or death. Only a handful grant such rights when both parents remain together, and several of those laws have recently been overturned. That's why this army is on the march.
Are we asking the law to say any grandparent can go to court and ask for visitation and let the judge decide?
If you find the McIntyre situation a sad one, you'll find Mildred Johnson shocking. She stood by her then unmarried daughter the day she gave birth. But today, the country road in Nebo, North Carolina that winds between her daughter's mobile home and Mildred's house might as well be a 6-lane highway. Mildred is no longer allowed any contact with Elizabeth, the granddaughter she nurtured day and night for 6 years.
It's no more than 50 yards away. Why don't you just walk over there and go see her?
Because they told me not to come on their property. And I'm afraid they'll have me locked up if I go across and...
You think they would have you arrested?
I'm afraid they might.
Mildred blames her trouble on her daughter's new husband, who has 2 children of his own.
She might look pretty in purple, mightn't she?
Uh-huh.
With her own Down syndrome child living at home, Mildred says she couldn't handle babysitting the newly expanded family. In retaliation, she says her daughter stopped her from seeing Elizabeth. About a year ago, Mildred's only grandchild last crossed the narrow divide to deliver a letter.
Dear Mama, I am mad at you. You made my mommy cry. I do not want to come to your house. You are mean. I don't love you anymore. I hate you, Elizabeth.
Have you talked to her since then?
I've not spoken to my granddaughter. I've waved at her. You know, I see her get off the school bus. And the reason I don't holler at her is because I'm afraid she'll get fussed at if she hollers back.
Have you tried doing that?
I've waved at her, and the only response I get is if no one's around, she'll put her little arm down to her side and she'll wave back.
Mildred has stored Elizabeth's toys neatly in the basement, carefully protected. A card marking her 7th birthday sits on the shelf. The swing set in the yard is idle.
I mean, it's a constant day-to-day thing. And someone's asked, well, wouldn't it be better if they moved away? I said, well, if they moved away, I wouldn't even get that glimpse of her.
So last fall, Mildred Johnson joined Louise McIntyre's crusade.
He's smiling at me.
The pain of these disruptions was palpable at the legislative hearings.
He's now 7 years old, and I haven't seen him in 6 years. And I don't think that's right.
And we saw it even more starkly when Loring and Louise's paths finally crossed in the Raleigh committee room. The son walked right by his mother without a glance.
That's what hurts. You don't unlove a kid. And to see him walk across my feet yesterday and not even acknowledge me, it tears you to pieces.
I don't want to be confronted with her. The hurt is so great that it's just best not to open up things.
Many grandparents ask me when and if they should go to court, and I always say, well, exhaust every other avenue first. But when they can't see the grandchildren anymore and they're suffering, they've got to do something.
Do you think your grandchildren ever ask about you now?
I hope to
I'm
God
sure they do, but we don't know.
Do you think they miss you?
Oh, I'm sure they miss me. They miss both of us.
But when we ask the girls if they miss their grandparents,
No,
or if they love their grandparents,
not anymore.
Do you think it's possible you will never see those grandchildren again?
Very likely.
If by some chance they should see this program, what would you say to them?
We love them. We love the kids, we love the grandkids, and we'd like to see this thing quit.
until it does, Megan and Rachel will continue to grow up 100 miles away from their grandparents, out of reach and mostly out of sight. Victor and Louise did see the girls a couple of months ago for the first time in more than 3 years.
Still got that same nose, hasn't she?
Only because a sympathetic friend videotaped their dance recital.
That's sad and complicated. But Lynn, how can anybody be opposed to the idea, at least to let grandparents have their day in court?
Well, it does seem unthinkable to you and me and a lot of people, but what Loring and Catherine McIntyre told us was that they just don't want the government interfering in their right to control their nuclear family. They say that someone has to be responsible for the children, and as long as they're doing it lawfully and that they're providing proper care for the children, no one should interfere.
What about divorce and how that impacts on grandparents' rights?
Divorce is certainly the factor in many of these cases, but in fact, many states in this country, most of them, do provide some recourse for grandparents to go to court, but they have to go to court, and there's no guarantee they're going to win that. So it's a very tough situation.
And still complicated.
Indeed.
Thank you, Lynn. Well, next, the newest weapon in the never-ending fight against body fat, medicine's magic wand. You'll be amazed at what doctors are doing now, and our own Dr. Timothy Johnson has the fat buster that might soon be reshaping America. After this.
How do you make a great buy better? Start with 88 by Oldsmobile. Well equipped at $23,100, 88 is ranked best premium midsize car and initial quality, ahead of cars like Camry and Maxima in a J.D. Power and Associates consumer study. To celebrate, let's make it better. For a limited time, get an additional $1,000 cash savings on 88 by Oldsmobile. A great buy made better. See your local Oldsmobile retailer today.
Rich French roast from Maxwell House. Irresistibly rich, it's the best of France made our own. And it's always good to the last drop.
LensCrafters has these new lightweight titanium P frames from Luxottica. They weigh about 40% less than other metal frames. They're fashionable, comfortable. Look at the difference. Wow. I love seeing them smile when that happens.
LensCrafters, helping people see better 1 hour at a time.
This is the sound of small businesses doing more business with Fridays free.
They're doing more because thanks to Sprint, all their long distance on Fridays is free.
While the rest of the week, they're still getting Sprint's low flat rates. Even better, call now and get Fridays free until the year 2000 with no term commitment. Call 1-800-598-5000 for Fridays free, only from Sprint Business.
It's too bad we don't have another name for high cholesterol. If it sounded as ugly as what it does to you, you'd pick up the phone right now and find out about treatment plans that could lower your cholesterol, reduce your risk of a heart attack, even save your life. Call 1-800-51-MERC for your free booklet and talk with your doctor. Because no matter what you call it, you can do something about it.
ABC News 2020 will continue in a moment.
ABC Late Night tonight.
On Nightline, if beauty is only skin deep, how deep is our prejudice? Exposing America's dirty little secret.
And on PI.
Can you be spiritual and run a casino?
I go to Vegas and make my contribution to the mafia. I just make it to the tribe.
Nightline and Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher. ABC Late Night tonight.
His body's a weapon. And hers isn't bad either. Together, they can penetrate the world's top secret organizations, track down deadly spies, even divert a nuclear war.
That's impossible.
So is Kenny G's career. Spy Game. Wanna play? Premiering Monday on ABC.
Used car buyers beware. They tell you they're selling the family car, but they're reworked wrecks. Chris Wallace goes undercover to track them down. Primetime, ABC Wednesday.
Well, if I had money to tell you what to do, I'd go downtown, buy a Ford truck or two. I'm crazy about a Ford truck. Lord, I'm crazy about a Ford truck. I'm gonna buy me a Ford truck and cruise it up and down the road. I'm gonna buy me a Ford truck and cruise it up and down the road.
See America's best-built, best-selling trucks at your Southern Nevada Ford dealer today.
Woo!
Well, scientists haven't yet come up with the perfect solution to eliminating body fat, but you can't say that they're not trying. Prepare yourself for the latest breakthrough in liposuction, an amazing new technique that is exciting for doctors and easier and safer for patients. Dr. Timothy Johnson will show you how it works and what it can do. It's shaping up to be a powerful tool in the fight against fat.
I want to change my pants.
Kim Mark's byline appears on fashion articles in major magazines. But when it comes to dressing herself, there's one overriding concern.
I don't want rolls of fat showing when I, get dressed in the morning. I have, basically the tire of a middle, just all the way around. And I have the power to have it changed, and I'm going to have it changed.
But you won't find 29-year-old Kim here. Sweating it out for a fashionable figure is not her style.
So many people say, oh, well, why don't you diet? Why don't you exercise? I have really good reason for not doing both of those things. I don't want to. Been there, done that, move on.
And what she is moving on to is the newest surgical technique to remove fat. It's called ultrasonic liposuction.
I think it's very exciting. The fact that we can do greater quantities of fat removal safer with less blood loss is incredibly enticing and exciting.
The procedure is so new that Kim's plastic surgeon, Dr. John Sherman, is unpacking his new equipment just 2 days before Kim is scheduled for her surgery.
The adipocytes, the fat cells that are lysed.
And just 2 weeks before, Dr. Sherman attended a course like this to learn about the new device for liposuction, a way to dissolve fat with sound waves.
The sound wave is then transmitted to the very end of the tip of the device.
Dr. Franklin Despaltro teaches some of the courses. He demonstrated the new device for 2020 in his operating room using a sample of human fat.
As it's in contact with the fat cell, it sets the cell into motion. The cell starts to vibrate at a very high frequency, and it breaks up and liquefies the fat, and we can remove the fat.
When liposuction was first introduced in the early 1980s, it was a comparatively crude and sometimes dangerous procedure. But with the introduction of a technique using local anesthesia and fluid underneath the skin, liposuction became much safer and more precise. In this still standard way of doing liposuction, the doctor pushes and pulls a tube through the fat, breaking it up so it can be suctioned away. By contrast, the ultrasound tubes first liquefy the fat, lessening the force needed. Doctors who have used ultrasonic devices find they offer several advantages to the patient.
They have healed quicker. They have less bruising. They have less bleeding. They have, therefore, less discomfort. I think, ultimately, it might be the preferred method for all of liposuction. This is one of the areas that you're very concerned about up here, right underneath that bra line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Despaltro has been using ultrasound in his New Jersey practice for 8 months.
The preparation is the same as for traditional liposuction.
You can see it from up
For
there.
reference, during surgery, he marks out the areas from which fat will be taken. His patient today is 36-year-old Lisa Lasso.
Well, everything is so large. My waist is large, my hips, my legs.
Basically giving me an out.
A pregnancy 7 years ago brought Lisa not only the twins she loves, but some extra inches she can't shed. She's convinced surgical sculpting is the answer.
I could visualize myself how I'll look in certain clothes, and I'm probably won't be like skinny, but I'll be slim and shapely. I'm ready. I can't wait.
Lisa decided to try ultrasound in part for the smoother result Dr. DeSpaltro feels he achieves with the new instrument. Also, more fat can be suctioned in one procedure than in traditional liposuction. In Lisa's case, several quarts of fat were removed. But ultrasound isn't perfect, says plastic surgeon Dr. Gerald Pittman.
The disadvantage is that the ultrasound device or probe is larger than a conventional liposuction tube. Therefore, the incision or the cut that you make to get in has to be larger. I personally, when using ultrasound, perform it only in areas where I can hide the incision.
And so we did the
You did all the areas you wanted. You did the upper abdomen, lower abdomen.
In Kim's case, ultrasound could be used for the entire procedure. The scars are hidden far below her panty line. She will be swollen for a few weeks before she sees the final results. Because of her limited surgery, Kim is able to leave Dr. Sherman's New York office only 3 hours after the surgery began.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Okay.
How you been feeling?
For Lisa's knees and inner thighs, Dr. DeSpaltro used traditional liposuction. This method leaves more bruising, but the tiny scars won't be seen. Ultrasound leaves less bruising, but the larger scars would be visible in exposed areas.
Give me a turnaround.
2 months after surgery, Lisa finds her clothes no longer fit. Her husband, Jerry, says she finally has the body she's been longing for.
I hear it every morning. Look at this pants. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I go, not too bad. Turn around.
But experts warn that even the new ultrasonic liposuction is no magic answer.
If this device seems to be able to get out more fat more easily, is it going to suddenly be used to sort of treat the whole body and for obesity?
Although you can take off a lot of fat, you can eat it back on. And no liposuction tube, no ultrasound device is going to be able to outrace the mouth.
Fits you beautifully.
Lisa's new slimmer shape has made her determined to lose even more by dieting and exercising. Since her surgery, she's dropped 2 dress sizes.
I'm no longer looking for anything that covers me up. When I look at myself now and I try on the clothes that I couldn't fit into before, it amazes me. It just amazes me. I love it.
She looks good and skinny.
I love you.
Well, we know it works for some people. So, Tim, should anyone planning liposuction go to this new method right away?
You know, Hugh, I think it's much more important to pick a surgeon who is experienced in general with liposuction, with the standard traditional technique, than to go to somebody who doesn't have that experience and all of a sudden has decided they want to use this new device. In other words, the new device adds an incremental benefit, but it's no substitute for knowing how to do liposuction in general in a very good way.
Are there some caveats about to avoid?
Well, the one concern besides the scarring is the possibility of burn, because you're using energy in this case. So again, if the surgeon doesn't know what he's doing, you can get a burn in the skin or underneath the skin.
Now, is this method of body contouring and weight loss actually superior to just denying yourself calories and exercising?
There's no substitute for exercise and diet for general weight loss, but even if you do that, there are going to be those little areas that won't go away, and that's where liposuction comes in and very handy.
Thank you, Tim. Well, next, a measure of comfort for a grieving family. New developments in the case of the foreign diplomat who devastated their lives. We'll tell you what's happening when we come back.
Next on 11 at 11, potential witnesses come forward in the Tupac Shakur murder investigation.
Plus, did Timothy McVeigh confess to the Oklahoma bombing? Conflicting reports hit the newsstand.
And we'll go live to L.A. for the latest on today's terrifying gunfight. 11 at 11 is next.
You
You did your job, you did it well. You gave your all and it was swell. And now it's fun in some time on making whoopee.
The brand new DeVille for the time of your life.
Now, an update on a tragedy that created an international incident. Recently, we told you the story of 16-year-old Jovianne Waltrick, who was killed last month in a horrific accident in Washington, D.C. As her immigrant parents grieved, they also learned that the foreign diplomat who police say caused the accident by drinking and speeding would probably never have to answer for his actions. George Makaradze was protected from prosecution by diplomatic immunity. Well, the public was outraged. The State Department intervened. And eventually, the government of Georgia decided to waive diplomatic immunity in this case. And that news brought some comfort to Jovianne's parents.
Não é de vingança.
I do not wish vengeance.
É de justiça.
I want justice.
And justice is finally being served. Just this week, a grand jury indicted Makaradze for Jovianne's death and for injuring 4 others. A hearing is set for Tuesday. Makaradze's lawyers say he plans to plead not guilty. Well, now it's time to check in with Nightline. Ted Koppel previews tonight's program.
Tonight on Nightline, if beauty is only skin deep, how deep is our prejudice? The shades of success and the question of color, exposing America's dirty little secret. America in black and white. Tonight, followed by Politically Incorrect.
Okay. Well, that's Nightline after your local news. And that is 2020 for tonight. We thank you for joining us. Remember, we're in touch, so you be in touch. I'm Hugh Downs. And for all of us here at 2020, have a good weekend and good night.